we're going to talk about our next topic, which is our 2022 NFL standings. Now, we remember, I believe it was a couple weeks ago, actually, I believe it was right before the preseason, I gave who I think will be in the playoffs, who will miss the playoffs. You guys go watch that show. But this time, we're doing it a little bit different. We will be doing my dad's standings and my updated standings. I said this on the show. I have the right to make, I believe it was 2 amendments right before week 1 and in week 8 right in the middle of the year to say, and after week 8, my standings are final. I cannot change them again. This is my first of only 2 amendments. So let's begin with your standings first. So
okay.
Let's start with the one. Actually, no. Let's go per division right now. Let's go to the AFC East. You have the Bills winning the division and getting the 4 seed, and the Patriots the 7 seed. The Dolphins making it to 3rd place, and the Jets in last. Explain to me what your thinking process was with the AFC East.
Well, I hate to put Buffalo in 1st place, but I'm afraid I have to. Once they went out and got Von Miller,
right?
You know, and they already had a strong defense. Now they have him,
right?
I don't think the Patriots can beat them. In fact, throughout the season, I don't have the Patriots beating Buffalo in either game. So I think that they're right up there. I don't think their record is going to be quite as good as some of the others. That's why I have them at the number 4 seed. I had them going 12-5. So I do think they'll win the AFC East. I had the Patriots 2nd, and I think they'll sneak into the playoffs at the 7th spot. I think Matt Jones is going to have an outstanding year, and I think he has Devontae Parker now, right? They invested quite a bit of money in receivers. They don't have the biggest names, but they're good. I think they have good tight ends. If what's his name, Smith. Can he step up? He was He was not good last year. He owes them a decent season, right? Hunter Henry is good.
Yep.
Right. And
I just want to make a point with the receivers. The Patriots are paying the most. They're paying over $70 million in their receiving corps, most in the NFL. So you're right. The receivers.
Well, they have some good receivers.
They do.
Devontae Parker's, if he can stay healthy.
I like Kendrick Bourne a lot, and Jacoby Myers last year had one of the probably the most under the radar, really good years last year. No one was talking about him, but if you watched, he was making a lot of big time plays.
You know, those players, I think you can count them. Aguilar is a decent receiver.
Yep.
Right. So, and they have a rookie who's very fast.
Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah. See if he gets in there. So Mac Jones can spread the ball around.
They should be able
to. And I think he's going to have a very good season. So, and on top of that, I think the defense is pretty strong.
Okay.
They kind of ran out of gas near the end of the year last year, but I think they made the corrections. Don Hightower, the older players are not there anymore. So
no,
we'll see. I think that they're going to sneak into the playoffs at 10-7.
What about the Dolphins over the Jets here? Well, what's your reasoning for that?
I just think going out and getting Tyreek Hill makes a difference. You know,
that's fair.
I mean, I don't have them over the Jets by too much, and I don't have them having a winning record. But I just think the Jets are too young, and their quarterback needs a couple more years to really blossom. I don't think Tua's any great quarterback at all.
I
don't think he's up to the challenge to have a winning record. And the head coach is a rookie, so I think the Dolphins will maybe be 8-9, and the Jets 6-11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the NFC North, the Ravens capping at the 2 seed and the Bengals 5 seed. Steelers and Browns, I guess, fight for the last in that division at 3 and 4 respectively. So
I think the Ravens, the reason I put them over the Bengals is last year they had so many injuries, right? The defense had tons of injuries, and those guys are all back.
Yeah,
I think they'll have better luck this year staying healthy. Lamar was hurt last year, and he's back now. And he's playing for a contract, looks like. So I think that the Ravens are going to be right up there. I think I had them winning as 14 games or something. It's you look at their schedule; it's not that tough because they didn't make the playoffs last year, so they get an easier schedule. The Bengals, on the other hand, I think will make the playoffs, but you look at their record in 2020; they only won 4 games, right? And then they had the monster year. A lot of teams that do that, in the subsequent year to the Super Bowl, they have a lousy year.
That's true. That's true.
That happens. So that could happen to them. But I think they'll make the playoffs. I think Joe Burrow is he's quite a talent, and he has quite an attitude too, which I think carries over to the team. He shows leadership, so I think they'll make the playoffs. Steelers, they don't have a quarterback. I don't think they really have anybody. I mean, I don't know, Kenny Pickett. He's a rookie. He's not going to start. Trubisky's going to start. He's inconsistent. Hasn't been able to hang in there with other teams.
I will say that I'm not going to defend Mitchell Trubisky a lot. I will defend him on this though. He does have a winning record, and he's been in a couple playoff games. So he's been good enough to make the playoffs a couple times. Yeah. And you know what? Even we're talking about the Bears here. The Bears haven't really been good in a number of years now. I understand they made the playoffs a couple of times, but you have to just look at them. They got demolished in each of the playoff games, and they had one very unlucky playoff game against, I believe it was the Eagles, in the Eagles Super Bowl year, where they had the Cody Parkey double doink off the uprights. Yeah. I think that happened twice. So they had one very, very unlucky year, which I think it was against the Eagles, and that year they won the Super Bowl, the Eagles. But I just we're talking about the Bears here. Mitch Trubisky has a winning record with the Bears and made the playoffs a couple times with those Bears. So that's the one thing I'm going to defend him on.
Okay, well,
one thing.
That's
otherwise
a good point. That's a good point.
I don't think he's very good.
It's a good point, but I don't think he's going to have a great year. I think that he's the starter. I think they'll probably yank him partway through the season, figure out the season's lost, and play for and let Kenny Pickett try and see whether he's somebody they feel like they can build around. They have a strong defense. They have TJ Watt, who I think could be the defensive player of the year this year. So we'll see. But I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
And then the Browns.
The Browns, I have said everything about the Browns.
There's nothing to say about the Browns.
They're a mess. They have lots of controversy. They did the Deshaun Watson thing, paid him way too much money. And
Jacoby Brissett starting for 12 games.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett, who is... I like Jacoby Brissett.
I like him as well.
Yeah, but he's not a starter. He's not really a starter. He's a backup quarterback. So that's the AFC North.
The AFC South. The first seed.
I have the Colts, the number one seed.
And then the Titans,
I had to think about that quite a bit. And the reason I did it, I looked at their schedule. And you see that schedule and you say, wow, they have Jonathan Taylor. They now have a Super Bowl quarterback.
Yep.
Right? Who was an MVP? Former MVP. Matt Ryan, he's tall in the pocket, and he's a smart player. I think he suffered in being on the Falcons the last few years because they really didn't have much around him.
True.
They're putting quite a few players around Matt Ryan at the Colts, and the Colts have a pretty decent defense.
You got Michael Pittman, who is just 1,000-yard receiver with Carson Wentz. And Michael Pittman, I've loved Michael Pittman ever since he came out of USC. I've defended him. I have a lot of faith in Michael Pittman. He was my favorite player coming out of I believe it was the 2020 draft. So I have a lot of faith between Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman. I think that could be a serious connection. I'm predicting a heavy. It's not on one of my hot takes, but I could predict Pittman getting 1,200, 1,300 yards this season.
Maybe with Ryan throwing him the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I have number one.
So Titans, Jaguars, and Texans.
The Titans, I'd say.
I can understand the Jaguars.
They're not going to make the playoffs this year. I might be wrong about that, but they have Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. Yeah. I think that's a definite liability for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the Jaguars, they got a new coach, and their quarterback, I don't know. They think he's great, but he was terrible last year, really. Yeah. I mean, he threw tons of interceptions.
Well, it's also with the Jaguars, but when I saw him, people are... I'm hearing analysts always say, oh, Trevor Lawrence is going to be so great. How? I mean, I'm taking a look at Trevor Lawrence here. What I'm seeing C+, B- tier quarterback. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any eliteness out of him. Yes, he was probably one of the greatest players to come out of college, right? But I'm not seeing something that'll, win Super Bowls.
Things I read, they're blaming Urban Meyer that he had an unimaginative offense, and Trevor Lawrence suffered from it. So,
well, we'll see. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl.
Doug Peterson is a capable guy. I think that,
and the end of his tenure with the Eagles was a little bit
what he did with her. What's his name?
Nick Foles?
No, the other
Carson
guy.
Wentz.
Carson Wentz.
Made him an MVP candidate.
Yeah, he started him as a rookie. He played well. He played well for the Eagles. So,
and he went out with Nick Foles, won a Super Bowl against the Patriots. He out-coached Belichick in that.
He did.
So
I think that
But I agree. I don't think the Jaguars are
I don't
going
think
anywhere.
the Jaguars are going anywhere. The Texans, they're not going anywhere either. They got
Texans are a
a
bad
new
team.
coach. They don't have much talent. Their quarterback, Mills, maybe he's going to be a serviceable quarterback. I think he's more of a game manager.
True.
And he's only in his second year, so I think they're going to have a very poor year.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
then over to the Chiefs.
The Chiefs making the playoffs at the 3rd seed.
Yeah, I think so.
Chargers at the 6th seed. Broncos missing the playoffs at the 3rd seed in that, or the 3rd team in the AFC West, and the Raiders capping out bottom of the division. The Chiefs making the playoffs in the 3rd seed, topping it out.
I think that even though they lost Tyreek Hill, I think that it's being overlooked that they picked up Smith-Schuster, and he's a very good player. And I think that he'll replace Tyreek Hill adequately, not outstanding, but adequately. And they have other players on the Chiefs, very fast other wide receivers, and they have good running backs. I think their defense is going to be stronger than people think, so I think they're going to win that division.
Interesting. Chargers at the 6th seed.
Yeah. They have Justin Herbert. So he's blossomed. His second year was great. I think he'll have a great year. They added Khalil Mack in the defense.
Yep.
So I think they'll make the playoffs. I think that the Broncos is going to be tough between, they could potentially beat out the Patriots for the 7th seed, but since I'm a Patriots fan, I gave that to Patriots. You know, they got a new coach too, and this is his first year as a coach. And, you know, I'm not sure Russell Wilson's enough for them to make it. So
could be.
Yeah. And then the Raiders, I think that any coach that comes out of the Patriots generally does poorly. Only the guy that went to the Texans there, Bill O'Brien, he was the only one that's had any success. All the rest of them have been flops. And Josh McDaniel was a flop once already, although he was a lot younger. So he may regret leaving the Patriots to go take that job there.